first of all, we've been welcomed with open arms. People have been very interested, enthusiastic. And it's interesting, when we had those full-day seminars, people were very quiet in the morning. By the end of the day, they just couldn't stop talking. They wanted to chat to us. They wanted to know more and more about not just Christian meditation and how we teach that in our schools, but also for themselves. They were interested in, everything that we've been doing. And I think a lot of people were there for the first time themselves. We had a lot of first-time meditators come along. So just that experience for them was, something remarkable in most cases. And then we had a lot of enthusiastic teachers, and we had some head teachers come along. And, we had some feedback from Jacksonville, where 2 days after we had completed the seminar, there was one teacher who had gone back and started doing the whole package with her class. So we were really thrilled by that.
I think there's a real hunger throughout the world. The US and Canada seem the same from everywhere else we went in the world, that people really feel that this is an absolute human need at this time in a crazy, so busy world, and they were just hungry to find out more and more about it, and they think that every kid in the world needs to learn how to meditate.
And I think yesterday it was our last seminar day, and we had a group of about 30 people, so it was a really nice, intimate group, and we really connected with them, with every single person in the room. And then at the end of the day, they all stood up and gave us a standing ovation. So we were really humbled by it, but it was really quite funny too.
There's a real need. They really believe that this has to happen for their kids, and they'd like to have for all the kids, even in public schools, they're saying. I think the big issue is that so many people have so much choice today that they'd like to learn about all sorts of meditation, but they don't depth in one. And our message all the way along was, look, you need to stop looking for choice, not you can keep on going forever to try to find the perfect way to meditate, but we've got a simple way that we know works, that now has worked in many countries, and you need to stop having the Walmart view of meditation and just pick one, be happy with that, and stick to it for a length of time, and aim for depth rather than choice.
A million choices. It was interesting because you can actually see what the society has done to people. And that's what I think is quite different to our trip, say, around Asia, where people haven't quite got to that hugely consumeristic world, where, life is really about as many choices as possible. And of course, people just live at this surface level. And I think sometimes they're actually afraid to go deep, because they don't know what's going to happen when they do that. And they like to stay on this surface level, not having to think about anything. You just go and, there's a million things you can choose at the supermarket or any shop you go to. And that's kind of what their life has become like. And I can see Australia heading in that direction. We're not quite as, we don't have quite the choices in life that people over here have. And of course, there's a difference too, because I think there's big gaps in society here. There's, very poor people and very, very wealthy people. And you really do notice those things when you travel. But that's, we did hear that from people, that they still see it as a one option among many, and they'd like to have a go at this, and we really brought them back to that focus for depth. I think by the end of the day, they were accepting of that view of life, mostly because I think perhaps they saw something in Ernie and I that said, well, this must have credibility, because they all were really wanting to focus on Christian meditation. We hope that when they go away, that's what we would have left in their hearts and minds, that they should practice Christian meditation as their one choice at this point. And we also mentioned, the way we've approached it in our schools is that we wanted our students to understand Christian meditation as a faithfulness to the prayer practice. So we didn't have just a little curriculum option that you would do in term one and then not come back to it until term one the next year. They just learn about Christian meditation. Our whole approach has been to introduce Christian meditation and to introduce it as a discipline for life, and a faithful practice is what we want. So we've got to actually give children a chance to do that in our schools. And that's why we think it's really, showing such, great fruit, if you like, good results. I don't like that word results, but it's really having an impact because we've taken that approach, because it's easy in schools to say, oh, yes, we like Christian meditation, but we'll just put it in the RE curriculum and we'll teach it, as I said, once a year.
And I think it was the same message in all the places, and they seem to get it, that looking at Townsville, you can do it, and you can do it in a big way, and it can be really successful, and the kids really like it. It was really good having the UK backup material as well. So, look, it's not just in one place. Now it's been transferred over there, and now 160 schools and 100,000 kids are meditating within 2 years. So I think we can show very clearly that it can be implemented with people of goodwill and a bit of energy. And I think what we tried to do was instill that energy and commitment into them. And some of the commitments they made at the end of the day were quite heartwarming to hear. Some of them said, I'm just going to go home and I'm going to meditate. Others, grandmothers, said they're going to take on the world and they're going to see principals and superintendents of schools and priests.
And bishops.
Yeah, and we're going to make this work.
We had a big mixture of schools. We had, here we only had Catholic schools, but in the States we had public schools, we had charter schools, we had Catholic schools. So we did talk about meditation as a practice to be given to every child on the planet. And if you couldn't add that, what we would say is the wonderful dimension of spirituality and a Christian perspective, then mindfulness or using a mantra that doesn't have any reference to God or a faith tradition would be absolutely fine, and that it should be done. So the charter school people spoke to me after the day in Jacksonville, and they said, look, what you said, and we spoke from the Christian perspective, they could see it fitted beautifully into, the philosophy that they have for, making sure that children flourish, and they were going back to just implement it in their charter school in Jacksonville. So I think we resonated with people in all sorts of school environments.
And Leo, if there's slightly one difference from the US and Canada that we have picked up, is that there's a real interest in getting meditation into all schools for all children. And that's a mention that hasn't come as strongly in some of the other places we've been, and they really feel that this should be a practice for all children. So, I think our next task is maybe looking what we do and trying to make it palatable without losing the very essence of what we do, so that all children can learn this. So, and it seems to be that was one of the messages coming from every single centre.
That was very strong.
Which wasn't the same necessarily when we were in the UK and other places. So it's a really interesting dimension, and that they want to take it more than just the Catholic school.
I think it's interesting still. I think we still have quite a bit of work to do with our own Catholic and other denominational people, and particularly some priests and bishops. That we heard in almost every centre that we were in, there were people who said, we would have loved our school to send teachers along, but the priest said, you're not going to that because it's fundamentalist, that this is not part of the church. That is the message that's still out there. And I find that really disappointing, but I just see that it's a job for us to do, to keep on doing what we're doing, and more and more people are understanding it.
And the other thing I think we've really had hit home to us very clearly during this tour is that there needs to be really good follow-up, and I think they're all crying out for good quality formation experiences for teachers.
Yeah, definitely.
So I think like the minimum of 2 days, almost like a retreat type experience for teachers, focusing on their own practice and with the eye of teaching this to children as another goal, but primarily to renew their own practice in a way. And look, I think that should be crucial for us in the world community now to start developing really quality programs, training up people all over the world who can deliver these, because there's a real need out there and they're crying out for it. And I think if it was followed up in a very short time into all these centres, that they would sign up to do those formation.
What you're taking back home from this tour, like if you can summarize in a short phrase or word?
I think we were very sincere in saying to the groups that when we come on these trips, and when we began to do this in Townsville, it was never in our minds that one day we'd be telling people all over the world about our little project in Townsville. But the thing that I take away is that you learn many things from people, and it actually helps you to revitalise your own practice personally and think about other things that you can do with children. Just reflect on things. You know, we don't often have time to sit back and reflect on how well it's working at home. And just how great a job our teachers are doing. So in some ways, I'm going to go back and give our teachers a really big pat on the back and say, you have no idea what the wonderful job you are doing has done for, you know, other people in the world, because we come and see it, but they're the ones who are actually doing it with children. So that's what I'm going to do, give them a big pat on the back.
I think I learned three things, Leo. One, we worked in a couple of the centres with really great medical people, psychiatrists who, and I think that the really good research in meditation with children and humans on the brain has grown immensely in the last few years. So I think one thing I'm definitely going to take is I'm going to learn more about that and incorporate that into what we do, because we've always approached it as a spiritual practice, but there is so many good benefits of meditation that are proven medically now. So I think that's one thing that I really am going to expand my knowledge on. And the second one is that we've got to feed this hunger in the people. You know, we have to get organised and provide really quality professional development and retreat formation programs for the teachers. And again, you know, I'll work with Lawrence and other people, anyone who's interested, that we need to develop these really, really good resources, even, dare I say, online programs that people can, if we can do that creatively and people can learn from that, because that's how many people learn nowadays. And we can develop e-learning communities where we might use some of our teachers, and it can be broadcast from Townsville, but people can hook in, you know, via Skype, Google Hangouts. There's so many ways that we can video conference now, and we can link up, and even if they can't get there physically, that we can, you know, you can charge people $100 to get, and they get all the resources for it, and we can do it from one centre. So I think we need to get creative, and that's the way of the world, and we are a connected world now. So we need to be right in the forefront of developing that. Yeah. But on the whole, Leo, it's been a great trip. Met so many warm people, new friends.
Great hospitality.
All over the place. And such a, as we said, a hunger, but you know, that happy hunger that they really want to do this. And, you know, meditation builds community. We met 600 new people, and we feel like we have 600 new friends. And and hopefully we'll be able to come back one day and see the fruits of it.
Great. So thank you for taking time to speak to me. And
Thanks,
it's always good talking to you.